When it comes to the DC universe, it tends to be one of the most skilled verses in fiction, as they love to be really generous when it comes to giving statements about skills, a key example being Batman. I think the best way to go about this is to first break down Batman and his level of skill, as a lot of other characters revolve around him, either scaling to him, below him, or above him. So this is how we're going to start this video. As I presented in my prior videos, you can't necessarily hold anti-feats from 10 years ago against the current versions of these characters. This is the same case with DC martial artists. As an example, it's been stated numerous times that Dick Grayson's tenure as Batman has perfected his skills as a crime fighter. So before I see any arguments from 1964 about how one or the other person beat him, just stop it. Don't do it. Stop. A quick note before I begin the scaling. Now, for the most part, when a character has mastery over more martial arts than another person, we can say they are more skilled and should win the fight. But some characters don't have a specific amount of skills or martial arts that they have stated to know. So the way that we do scale these characters is how they do in fights against the other people who have these statements. AKA, if I know 10 martial arts and someone beats me by outskilling me, then they should have the skills to be able to beat other people that have 10 martial arts, as a generality, as a rough generality. I won't have time to go over a lot of the characters in depth due to the sheer history, but I would be happy to do other videos covering an individual character if you wanted. My friend Crisis will be doing a video covering Nightwing, and then a separate piece of content about each member of the Bat family, going into the in-depth scaling and analysis and how they all scale to each other. The last bit of house cleaning before we get into the scaling is the abilities that I mentioned for one character. The ones above them should be able to do the same if it's not a meta power or some sort of suit ability. So you can apply moves and techniques upwards on the list if you want to go outside and start using these characters in debates. The Dark Knight tends to be either downplayed or overhyped when it comes to analyzing his skills. On the low end, we either have him mastering 36 martial arts, but of course we know this is insanely stupid, as we have numerous statements of him mastering every single martial art or even mastering every single form of combat. Karate Kid is a martial artist who is stated to have mastered every single martial arts up until the 31st century as a part of the Legion of Superheroes. Now, we have a few instances in which he and Batman engage each other in hand-to-hand combat. The first time we see the two face off, Karate Kid states that he has stuff to learn from Batman, while on the second outing, we see that Superman rates Karate Kid at 15 but a Batman in 12 when it comes to their combat skills. Batman sets to prove him wrong by first beating him in a fight, but when we later come to see them, we see that they are both relative to each other and both damage each other without any taking the major advantage in the fight. So now that we've established Batman as a baseline with his level of skill, we can move on to the list of characters who should be relative to him to the point where either could take the win in a fight. Let's start with Batman's own father, the Flashpoint Thomas Wayne, who as of the Rebirth one was able to go blow for blow with his son Bruce and Bane at the same time, thus earning Thomas a comfortable spot in this respective tier of skill. Bane is also stated to have the same level of training in this run and is able to fight Batman without his Venom amps in the same run, so they should all scale to each other. A newcomer to the DC universe is Bruce's childhood friend and first rival before even the Joker, the Ghostmaker. They both started their international adventure to become the very best at crime fighting around the same time, and they would then go on to have fights over and over again, with both taking the wins over each other. However, Batman remained in the lead as far as this time period is concerned, though we're talking about the present, and as far as the current version of the characters are concerned, Ghostmaker did take a win in their only conclusive fight, winning by incapacitating Batman with his sword via a torso stab and then knocking him out. Though this isn't to say that they aren't relative, as they're still shown to be close in competitive and friendly sparring matches based on the previously mentioned conclusive fight. Ghostmaker just about edges out on top of Batman here. Moving on, let's take a look at Batman's other rivals. First off, we have the infamous Batman Who Laughs, who not only has the fighting skills and training as the main continuity of Bruce, but also has the unpredictable movements of the Joker. Batman also felt the need to create an original martial arts just to be able to counter his rival, and he dubbed this Bam Pow, after its similarity to the Joker's insane and unpredictable fighting style. We also see the two adversaries go blow for blow on a few occasions, but Batman eventually admits that he can't be his dark counterpart in a straight 1v1, so ends up needing the Joker to be able to help him to be able to beat his foe. Now we can move on to the greater Bat family, because when it comes to skill, we can't really have a conversation without bringing up the boy wonders. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up, as the pinnacle of the Bat family when reached even ends up eclipsing the Dark Knight himself. Starting out at the bottom and the least skilled, who are by no means any joke in the Bat family, are, spoiler, Batgirl and Batwoman. The three of them don't really have many feats or statements to put them above the mid tiers or even put them anywhere higher, and all that we really know is that they have training from Batman and are very skilled themselves. The mid tiers of the family would be Damian and Tim, with Tim having the edge over Damian, as when we saw they did fight and Tim went all out, there was not much Damian could do. Now, the gap between Tim and Bruce is actually quite large, as you see that a future Tim with 30 years of prep and knowing all of Batman's weaknesses is still not able to beat him in a straight up hand-to-hand contest. This of course is unlike the people I would consider the top tiers of the Bat family, being Dick and Bruce, who have both been able to on multiple occasions just trade hands with the Bats without any outside interference. Speaking of those two, my close friend and fellow YouTuber Crisis was kind enough to collaborate with me, and he'll be doing their section of this video. So without further ado, Crisis, please take it away.
Hey everyone, Crisis here. Now, I've been scaling Nightwing for a while now to the ends of making a video, mostly focusing on his skill, as, from my experience browsing top 10 lists and debate forums, Nightwing is, in particular, severely underrated as a fighter. So when my buddy True told me he was working on this video, we both knew I had to hop on the mic. With that said, much like the Dark Knight himself, Grayson, as Robin, is skilled in all the arts of combat, trained to use all kinds of weapons, and is as well skilled at weapon improvisation. The New 52 Nightwing run heavily leans into Grayson's ability to recognize even the most minute details about a person, deducing Batman's true identity by gleaming physical features shared between Bruce Wayne and the Dark Knight. This ability aiding Grayson in combat through identifying who, amongst a SWAT team, would jump the gun and fire upon the hero first. In regards to scaling, Dick Grayson has managed to outskill Midnighter, a fighter who has managed to identify the evolutionary weakness of Martian Manhunter, nearly killing him by swapping up his fighting style mid-combat. He defeated Grifter, a telepath capable of reading his opponent's mind during battle. He's managed to keep up with Paragon, a being endowed with the powers of the New 52 Justice League, Amazo, and combat simulations of the Justice League's Rogues Gallery, set to attack Grayson with lethal force. These feats are surely possible through Grayson's inexhaustible knowledge on the weaknesses of many of the DC Universe's greatest threats and hopes, many of these characters being on this very list. And now for the real meat of Nightwing's skill scaling, his parity to Batman. Nightwing has made a career out of battling the Terminator, Deathstroke, once even nay-naying on Slade Wilson after being caught up in an immobilizing chemical explosion, with Batman suggesting that Dick would be better off staying in bed. Deathstroke, of course, performs in relativity to Batman at various points in his career, defeating him in post-crisis and stalemating / getting high-diffed by Batman in Rebirth. Furthermore, the Nightwing villain Raptor, someone who had studied Grayson's career alongside the Cape Crusader, stated that while Wayne may be able to best him in combat, it would require Bruce to go all out. Nightwing then folded Raptor like a lawn chair. Nightwing has as well gone against foes like the Joker, dodging all of his attacks, getting him in a headlock. Within the same arc, Batman goes on to have a high diff battle with the Jester of Genocide, this being a testament to Grayson's agility in combat, being the #1 acrobat on the planet. To seal the deal, the final issue of New 52 Nightwing shows an all-out battle between father and son, as stated by prolific DC writer Tom King. As stated, both fighters were putting their all into this battle, showcasing a level of brutality rarely seen even in the fights with their true adversaries, with the Batman of Bloodhaven landing the final blow. This is backed up by a statement made by Barbara Gordon, one of the most knowledgeable humans in the DC universe, stating that Nightwing is Batman's equal. Now for the second son of the Bat. Jason's greatest skill scaling is of course to the other members of the Bat family. Very appropriate for a problem child. Now obviously Red Hood has a history of butting heads with the other Robins, with varying success, being bested by Nightwing during the battle for the Cowl arc, as well as proving superior to both Tim Drake and Damian Wayne along the years. However, Jason has received a number of skill amps since post-Crisis, such as his League of Shadows training, heavily showcased in his New 52 incarnation, using these skills to even best Lady Shiva. However, this was implied to be more so due to a specific special technique taught to Red Hood by Shiva. Either that or the skill level of Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne have far increased in the years since their New 52 histories, seeing as their consistent relativity, if not superiority to Jason Todd in more recent years. In fact, it was recently revealed in Detective Comics that every time Batman seemingly won a fight against Shiva, she was simply playing a role and proceeded to no-diff Batman. Red Hood one-shotting someone who can one-shot Batman just isn't logically consistent. Furthermore, Red Hood battled Dick Grayson during the Joker War event, an event which saw Nightwing's memories of crime fighting replaced with a lifetime of crime by the Joker, with each combatant trading blows while making a number of kill shots before the fight was cut short by a sneak attack from Punchline. So, Red Hood is relative to a Dick Grayson imbued with murderous intent. It is, however, worth mentioning that Joker's mind control was inhibiting Dickie Boy's combat speed. Not to mention that, alongside this showing, Jason lacks a feat as definitive as Nightwing landing the final strike against a going all-out Batman, with Jason's fights against Batman either being cut short or consisting of extenuating circumstances, such as emotional conflict or alternate motives. However, scaling to a nerfed equivalent of Batman is no anti-feat, and it certainly puts Red Hood's skill in the same tier as Dark Knight level fighters.
While all previously mentioned combatants are formidable and brilliant martial artists in their own right, Cassandra Cain is a whole nother level from the rest of the list we've seen so far. So without beating the bush, let's just get into it. Cassandra's skills directly above Batman via statements he made while spectating Cassandra herself. This statement is complemented by the fact that not only can Cassandra fight her mother, Lady Shiva, which Batman can't, but he even gained the upper hand in the fight. It should be noted that Lady Shiva is actually serious and she's able to bully Bruce in less than 3 panels, telling him that she could have killed him at any point they wanted, and whenever he's ever beaten her, she's only ever played a role in any of these fights. Now, who at this level could beat the deadliest woman to ever live? That would of course be Richard Dragon. When it comes to Shiva and Dragon, they have a long and storied relationship, with Shiva chasing him around the world trying to fight him because she is the only martial artist on the planet who could give her an actual challenge in a fight. To get the full story, we need to look at the 2004 Richard Dragon run, where we see Dragon fighting in underground tournaments for money. He's eventually approached by his old friend Ben Turner, aka the Bronze Tiger, with whom he ends up fighting. While the brawl was close, Bronze Tiger eventually gained the upper hand, with him noting that while Dragon had retained his skill and physicality, he lacked the heart of a fighter. Later this same run, he joins a tournament in order to free the soul of his friend, the Tiger. As the run progresses, we see that Dragon is getting better and eventually fights Shiva, who he could have beaten, but he lets her win as this was the plan to free the soul of his friend from Neuron. Now for a few other lesser known characters who could fit in the Dragon tier. One such character would be Connor Hawke, who in the same run as previously mentioned is able to fight with Dragon before he goes to the island. He also wanted to join the tournament, but Dragon ended up injuring him as he says Connor does not have what it takes to compete at the highest level, and while also not wanted to see him die. Someone else that you might have not expected to see up here is the Black Canary. We know she's a skilled fighter, but we also get confirmation from Barbara Gordon, who has a photographic memory, and has also trained with Batman and seen him fight, that Black Canary would be able to beat him in a fight. This is also confirmation from the guidebook when we see Canary and Lady Shiva could go blow for blow in fights and be very relative to each other. And to carry on with the Canary theme, we have the White Canary, who is able to fight Huntress and Black Canary at the same time. This is even more impressive when you consider that Black Canary stated that this fighter is better than Shiva. But we also realize that White Canary says that nobody in the world can beat Shiva. This just goes to show the level of skill in the DC universe improving, as we have people who scale to other characters getting better and being stated to be way above their past selves. Now we have a few characters to go over before we bookend with the top of the list. These are characters that didn't quite fit in the narrative I was going for, and I thought people would be interested in them, so I'm going to put them here just before we go to the top tiers. First off, we can look at the Green Arrow, as he was able to beat Red Hood in a straight up fight with Jason having to detonate his sword to even be able to escape from him. This is very impressive, as this is the same Red Hood who's able to go blow for blow with Batman in the Under the Red Hood storyline. But Batman in this storyline might have also had some mental weaknesses, as he is fighting one of his long dead sons, so he might not be going all out or using all of his skill against Jason at this point. Up next is everyone's favourite child killer, Deathstroke the Terminator. While he could fit into various places on this list, I think it's important to bring up a statement from Slade that if he wasn't superhuman, he wouldn't engage Bruce in a hand-to-hand fight. This is backed up to him losing to Batman on various occasions, so while he is able to compete and take the Batman to his limits, he still always loses and he ends up in the bottom tier of the Batman tier. A newcomer to the DC universe is Silencer, Leviathan's greatest assassin, who has the ability to create a zone of silence, making all of her kills completely quiet. Despite being a relative newcomer, she has quite a few showings. One of them is to be able to fight with Batman, but of course she's forced to run away, as her goal isn't actually to kill him, but to protect him, and they work together to take down the assassin. She has had multiple encounters with Deathstroke, always being on the back foot against him and having to take small advantages to escape. Or he does not want to kill her despite having multiple chances to do so, so she would just go underneath him on this tier. The last character I would like to mention would be Prometheus, a Grant Morrison creation from his 1997 Justice League run, as he has the ability to download any information and having it be part of his body. So what he does do is download the skills of the top 30 martial artists in the world, including Batman, and then fighting him and off-screening him. But the problem with Prometheus is a few issues later, he and Batman have another confrontation with the Dark Knight taking the victory quite handily, so he's kind of in a vacuum of his own scaling where I'm not really sure where to put him. He should be way more skilled than Batman, but he ends up losing to him, so it's very, very strange. Now, to move on to the final peak of skill in the DC universe, we have to look at a few different people and context towards fight. I will start with who I think is number one and has a lot of others in the tier that either scale around her or to her. If you know me from Discord or by certain other opinions I have, you might know who it is already and you might be rolling your eyes. The first piece of evidence is simply the fact that Batman calls her the best melee fighter on the planet, and when he has a chance to free a single Justice League member, she's who he chooses. Of course, one piece of evidence is simply not enough. We also have the fact that she trains both Batman and Black Canary, showing that she has things to teach them and is above them. You might be thinking this is still not enough. We have people like Shiva who can accomplish feats on this level, so why is Wonder Woman so high? Well, let's take a look at Wonder Woman's main antagonist, Ares. Ares is stated to be the embodiment of war and all things that has to do with it. We know that he's mastered every single military tactic and every single martial arts since the beginning of time, as this would all be part of his domain. We see that Wonder Woman is able to fight on par with him and even beat him. We also know that she's able to outskill him by teaching him how to use the lasso, showing that she does have more skill than Ares. We also know that once she becomes a god of war, she would have access to all of the same things, adding to her already immense level of skill. This of course would put Wonder Woman at the top of the list and Ares number 2. Well, I'm going to throw a wrench into that for one quick second. I think number 2 would actually be the Darkest Knight. Now you might be thinking, hey, wasn't the Batman of Laughs already on this tier list? And obviously this is not just about power. Well, what you have to understand is the transformation from the Batman Who Laughs to the Darkest Knight is more than just a power amp. We also see that he takes all the knowledge and all the training from every single Batman across the entire Dark Multiverse. This would also include people like the Merciless, who is just the god of war in his verse, so he would scale to Ares, and then with everybody else, he would scale above him. We get another statement from the Merciless about how there are no better combatants than Wonder Woman. This is later shown as we see that even when she has less power than the Darkest Knight, she's still able to fight him and even take the upper advantage before getting a power boost, throwing him into the Death Sun and removing him from the story. Big Barda is a character who is able to fight toe to toe with Wonder Woman when they are both going all out and doing everything they had to win this fight except for kill each other. We see that Big Barda even has the advantage of having a weapon. Wonder Woman is able to disarm her and also beat her in this fight. I would be remiss not to put Big Barda's husband on this tier list as well, as we see that even when she uses all her skill, he's still able to outskill her and knock her out. He does say she's not quite herself, but he also says she's using all of her skills, so this should count. A character that I only just found out about and who would be in the lower end of the top tiers but still very impressive would be Jinsei from the hypothetical Woman Justice League run by Gail Simone. She is someone who has the knowledge of every single great Grand Master throughout time and is also stated to be the embodiment of martial arts itself. She is able to absolutely brutalize Batman. Obviously this would put her way above him, but based on the statements and how her powers technically should work, she would also be quite near the top. Now of course, this is not a comprehensive list of all martial artists or even all the major ones, as certain characters like Wildcat and Mr. Terrific have been missed off the list. This was because the list was getting quite long and I didn't want to make a 6-hour video detailing every single ability and technique that each character have. This is more of an outline of the overall landscape of skill in the DC universe, so you can slot your characters in where you think they should fit. Now of course, if you disagree with my list or any of my placements or my scaling for my characters, you can join my Discord and I would be happy to talk to you about it anytime you wanted. Before I head off, I just want to have a quick note. The next video I plan on making is a video about the Batman Who Laughs / the Darkest Knight, and I feel like he has plenty of hype but could still do with a little bit more. So if you would be excited to see that, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you later. Peace.